Once again, welcome. You are with Global Voice 2012. Today is the 15th of July, and we are with Drake, LadyDragon, Minuteman, and other special guests today. Welcome, Drake.
Welcome.
Welcome, LadyDragon. And welcome,
Denise.
And welcome back, Minuteman. We're glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We have a lot of ground to cover. I will ask that everyone be patient. We're a little short-handed today, and we will only be taking questions from the Global Voice chat, which is an extension of the globalvoice2012.us page. You go to the top and you click on chat room, and that's the chat room where we will be taking questions from today. I regret we won't be able to do it from the Blog Talk radio chat today. So with that, since we have a lot of ground to cover, Drake, welcome to the program, and happy Sunday.
Yeah, well, it's sunny and humid and thunderstormy in the mountains today, which is all nice and well and good. People know that I've been working with a variety of people, and they know that I have a tendency every once in a while to come up with a goodie, and today is no different. Now, there's a certain order to things, and I think that the manner in which this is going to be presented should hopefully clarify what's going on, what needs to be done, and actions to be taken. And I would like LadyDragon to come on with, she said she had news, some of which I'm going to duplicate a little bit, but that she primarily has the understanding of. LadyDragon?
LadyDragon is live.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, LadyDragon.
Hello, sister.
Hi, brother. Before I start with the news, well, it is the news, but before I start with the news that I want to share, Drake, could you take a moment and address what's going on in Bohemian Grove? Because no one is reporting this except us. So they're supposed to be there for 2 weeks, and people are asking me why they don't go arrest them now, and why are they letting them doing these human sacrifice and stuff of that sort. Could you start with this, please?
Yes. That's an abomination, period. I got no use for anybody that's there. And to be quite honest, part of the reasons for a lack of action are going to be addressed a little later in the show by me. The suggestion I would make is that anybody and everybody who can go to Bohemian Grove. It's not too difficult to find. And start thinking about going in, quite honestly. The things that are done there are grossly illegal. Doesn't matter if they're on private property in this case. Certain things preclude the right to hide on private property. There's a combination of things that goes on there that most people, we see it, and yeah, right. Well, I've had several people get videos along with recordings, voice recordings, among other things, and you would not believe the attitude and what actually transpires. You would not believe it because most people only hear about such things happening on battlefields and other places of that nature where slicing and dicing people and whatnot is a common occurrence. So with that said, I'd suggest, as I said again, everybody who's capable or able, go visit. They'll tell you to stand outside the gates and all that. Don't interfere with traffic on the road unless there's several thousand of you. If there are, don't worry about it. Stand around and be in the way. Be peaceful. do not take any kind of covert action unless there's, I'll say, 4,000 or 5,000 of you, and you really wish to go in and snatch somebody. In that case, I would suggest go for it. They want to bring it out in the open as much as possible. That would probably do it. But I'm getting feedback on my phone.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. If I move to the other end of the house, I don't have that problem. There we go. Much better. I hate that screech in the ear. The problem with it is that most of each and every last leader, both here and abroad, attend this thing. It is a satanic worship. It is designed to make available people who normally wouldn't get together the possibility to discuss our ruination, our subjugation, and our enslavement. And to be quite frank, the thing should not be allowed, and that's under any circumstance. So, up to you is what you do about that. Lady Dragon, you want to continue with the news?
Yes. Okay, there's a bunch of news that came out on Friday night, that I put out. It's all intertwined news, and it's very important news. It was one after one after one after one. Starting with a Congress that is now trying to outlaw reporting on the government corruption. Imagine that. Lawmakers are pushing legislation to Congress that will criminalize reporting on illegal activities and corruption in the U.S. government. How about that? If a journalist like me report what they're doing wrong, they want to put me in jail of this. What the hell, that was the first news that really and then all the other news that's coming, it's all entangled or intertwined together. Now, we're going here with the Congress is now it wants to vote on something else. Declaration of World War III, an endless war with no borders, no clear enemy. The United States Congress is set to vote on legislation that authorized the official start of World War III. Well, if you think that's the big, you're going to fall off your chair after this. Now they're saying, White House give Homeland Security the control of all the communication system. People are not clear what does that mean. It's everything. And I mean everything. Your TV, your cell phone, your internet, anything where you can actually communicate with somebody. Well, if you think that's bad, wait to my other news. That's all entangled together, by the way, people. And my other news is, again, Homeland Security seeking assault and sniper rifle. And I have moles and caliber and all sort of things with the bullet, and you would see this. So it's not very difficult to see what they're trying to do. They're just trying to shut us up, no journalists and no communication, and shoot us all. You know what I'm saying, Drake?
Yes, Drake, I do.
So this is mostly I think the most important news. Besides, of course, Bohemian Grove, and then now they're starting to have another SOPA. They call it IP attaché legislation, which is the same thing, revamped in their own ways, So it's not stopping. It's going even worse every day, Drake?
Yes, I do. And is that basically pretty much the news you got to cover, or you got more?
Well, I got more. There are more hopeful news. Like last week, I was discussing the houses, how you can build different houses. I have 4 beautiful news of how you can build houses underground eco-home blends into the earth. This is much more positive news. The pearl shell-shaped solar house is a beach house retreat made in a shell, and it's powered by solar technology. If we continue about those lines, you're going to see also houses made in a shell. It's called the Nautilus. And speaking of technology, Keshe Foundation, Keshe Foundation announced plans to release their free energy technology. So see, there's the people that wants to stop us, and there's people that's trying to get us moving forward. Drake.
Yep.
So
exactly.
That's basically it. What?
Exactly.
So that's basically it for now. I think it's enough. It's more. It's so important what we just received as news. It's time to move forward here. It's time to move. It's time to do something before they shoot us all.
I kind of doubt they got the bravado to do that. I want to thank you for bringing the news. I want to go back in time a little bit. Last Wednesday, I did a show that I covered 3 basic things, and I was pretty well livid. I don't normally get quite that mad, but some of the things that have been following hasn't made it any that much better. Now, last Wednesday, I covered the basics of Law of the Sea Treaty, and if anybody really looks at that, you'll find that it causes a whole bunch of things to change. Primarily, it gives more control to the ideology of corporate access to raw materials, basic elements, things of that nature. And it goes out some, I think it's 60 miles or some such. And that's just almost unheard of. You go 60 miles in the wrong direction, you'd be standing on dry land in another country in some cases. So that possibly could be a problem. There's 2 other facets. One was the UN Small Arms Treaty, which is basically gun confiscation and control, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is basically a corporate takeover by the New World Order from the financial sector. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is that the rights that we have, as specified in our Constitution, stipulate things like freedom of speech, so long as you're not denigrating somebody's character on rumor alone, but can substantiate what you're saying about them being some kind of whatever, you can say it. If it's just rumor or something of that nature, it's not a good idea because the other person has the legal right to come after you for saying things that are not true. And, it doesn't sound too unreasonable to me. Now, I also mentioned last week that there was a whole load of church websites on Google that Google agreed to take down because they were disagreeing with the government. They did this under the terrorist program, and the continuity of government, meaning they intend to keep it going no matter who they got to kill, no matter whose rights they got to step on, or what else they might have to do. I want you to bear that in mind. And primarily it didn't have anything to do with the church, even though it does, because you got freedom of religion involved in this. A person should be able to believe the way they want to. If they don't believe in birth control, so be it. If they don't believe in terms of abortion, then they shouldn't have to have one. Well, these kinds of things are at issue now. In other words, the government's getting ready to say, thou shalt. It don't matter whether you like it. It don't matter if it goes against God. It don't matter if your religious rights are trampled on or whatever. They don't care. And the idea of the church website takedown was to see whether or not they could legally attack the First Amendment rights. That was the issue. It wasn't really so much what the church was saying. That was inconsequential. They didn't really care about that. What they cared about was freedom of speech. And lo and behold, then you've got the executive order given Friday the 13th that the Department of Homeland Security has control of all communication. That includes everything, ladies and gentlemen. Your phones, TV, internet, etc. And Department of Homeland Security is basically the secondary form of governmental control in terms of and to include a new government that can be instilled in times of emergency. And I want you to remember, Obama in all his glory declared an emergency over a bunch of enriched uranium made by Russia. And whoopee, and it's old, and it was renewed every year. Well, the thing is, they don't care about Russia. They could give a squat less about enriched uranium. The idea is to be able to declare an emergency. Under emergency controls, it gives the government special powers to further control us. This includes things like nice little things like martial law and things of that nature that everybody's been going, ooh. And to be quite honest, we're in a very funny position. Now, I'm sure everybody's aware of the fact that programs to help people have been getting out of control in some ways in terms of the cost and size of them, et cetera, and this has been being thrown around as a political football all over Washington and on the news and all this. Well, the other executive order that was issued, and I'm not sure exactly the time of it, actually guts the Welfare Reform Act. What that means, in simple terms, is no one has to work. That's the distance between the original law and what we have at this moment. So apparently somebody's not too worried about whether America can survive as a financial entity in any way, shape, or form. This simply helps to undermine any ideas of any government platform dealing with a budget. How can you have a budget if somebody has the right to do with it as they please from the other end? This is where your cities got in trouble in terms of the problems they have with unions, et cetera. And yeah, they signed a contract that it's supposedly all legal and all this, but I'll suggest instead of being stupid like a certain mayor did, cutting everybody to minimum wage, I would suggest that these cities who have had troubles and problems along these lines go at it under an emergency order to what would be called a comparable situation in the private sector. In other words, average pay is 70 to 80 grand in the government, where you're lucky to make 50 on the same job in the private sector. I will suggest that type of cut. I will also suggest that the benefits be adjusted similarly. In other words, you're going to end up paying more for your health care, et cetera. That one of the primary issues is retirement. I will suggest that depending on the years of retirement, in other words, the distance between wherever a person is in the workforce and their intended retirement, that they use a payable annuity. This is a straightforward, real simple, interest-bearing certificate. And what you do is you pony up a certain amount. It pays for your acquisition of that document. And that document then accrues interest and you pay into it. And it can vary as to monthly, It can vary as to being a couple of large payments. There's lots of different ways to pay for the thing. You pay in a certain amount, and then you're done paying. It sits there, and it accrues interest. It's an investment tool, but what's neat about it is this. At maturity, it turns itself into cash, and it can be set up so that you can either pay out a certain amount a month or the whole thing or whatever you decide to do. The only taxes you have to pay is on the accrued value in terms of the interest paid into the account. In other words, the original amount that you paid to basically purchase this thing. And like I said, you can make a partial lump sum payment and some payments toward it. It initiates, and you can set these things at whatever year out you want. Pays off in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever. These things are portable. Now, I know everybody knows about these because I know a lot of people that use them. So I would suggest that retirements be looked at on that platform. That solves the other big financial problem. However, we got some that just say, well, we're too far behind, there ain't no way, and they've declared bankruptcy, total emergency, cut everybody to minimum wage. Now, I know for a fact that policemen start between $30,000 and $35,000 a year. That ain't a heck of a lot, especially seeing as how you put your life on the line. I don't know what the firemen get paid, to be honest with you. I have no idea. However, I know that both of them have expensive equipment to be used and all that, but if you want to cut things back, go to the base start salary at the very worst. Yeah, that's more than what the minimum wage is, but it can make the difference, and if you can make a plan for a few years in advance, then things can be righted slowly. This avoids tax increases. This avoids them being shut totally out. And as I said, retirement's not that much of a problem. Another thing has come to my attention that really blew my mind. There's a federal effort in this area, and from what I understand, about 5 states. And some of these so-called representatives are offering a people's rights legislation. Basically what it does is it removes almost all the rights that might be left. It totally subjugates the Constitution. And I hopefully will see the case where it don't go anywhere. But that doesn't really, that's not really the crux and reason for my report. I want you guys to think about this. You got law of the sea, the law of the sea treaty. One of these days I get my tongue out of the way and I can talk. UN Small Arms Treaty, and that's confiscation of guns. Trans-Pacific Partnership, that's a corporate takeover, New World Order type of thing where corporations actually rule. And by that I mean they can assess individuals, they can assess land and landowners and governments any amount they like in terms of causing somebody problems. And that includes laws such as that Monsanto rider where it doesn't matter if a federal judge says that's unconstitutional or illegal, they can do it anyway. That's what this is doing. Okay, and so, you know, working with all that mess, I decided to take a close look around and put my ear to the ground and see what I could find out. Everybody's been kind of waiting, and I ain't the white knight, however much somebody'd like to think I might be. Even if I had a set of armor and a white horse, I couldn't ride into everywhere at the same time and do what needs to be done. This is going to come to the people. I want you to think about that for a minute. That person you see in the mirror every day, that's your white knight. And there's a reason I'm saying this. And I've been asking for people to get up off the couch and go do something. Get involved. Form a community group. Anything in the direction of freedom is good. I've been telling people for a while now that the military was actively involved in assisting us with our freedom efforts. And everybody's been kind of looking for the cavalry to come riding in. And we got a problem. and it ain't with the military wanting to do something. It's called Who Can You Trust? And it's called the Rat Patrol. And what it does is you put out a thing, inform on somebody who is looking at freedom, who would side with a change of government, and any kind of substantial evidence, any kind of a substance to your accusation, you get a combination of rewards. It's both money and rank. You get some goodies out of this one. So that sort of put things in a trick bag. As far as I'm looking at it, it kind of was an effort to stop the military from taking their actions that would set us free. And guess what? It's working. The reason is nobody knows who to trust. So, because of that, there's a lack of action. And this lack of action only goes so far with me. And I know there's a large number of people out there who are totally and absolutely frustrated. They're looking at me thinking I'm full of hot air. They're looking at me, looking at what we're talking about and saying, oh, horse hockey, and not paying no attention. I'd like to see most everybody out there who really wants to know what's going on, check some of the documentation. You guys asked for proof, and I put some up on the website. I had it put up, I mean. And to be quite honest, some of it's damning. It shows what these guys were intending to do, and some of it deals with what has transpired in the way of the things that were going on from last week's show, last Wednesday's show. Now, the idea of freedom is to be secure in our home, business, and person. And you take a close look at that. That means they don't come in your house without a warrant. They don't break the door down surprising you necessarily. They knock on the door and say, we got a warrant and we need to exercise it, and would you care to read this? Now, just a warrant by itself ain't no good. I'm going to tell you that right now, and I don't care who don't like that. You bring in a copy of the affidavit of truth stipulating exactly what is and what is not according to the reason for, this is called probable cause, the warrant's existence. Okay? Then there's a secondary part to the warrant. First warrant is a search where they can come in. The second one is seizure. They have to specify exactly what they are after and exactly what areas they want to check, because the whole place is not, as such, per se, open to inspection just because they're there and got a search warrant. It don't work that way. If these people want to be totally legal, they need to have their stuff in order as well. When they got their stuff in order, most people don't have anything to hide. They are not allowed to abscond with anything, and I mean anything. Like they got to replace toilet paper if they use some, or a Kleenex. That's how tight this is. And what people need to understand is that you have certain legalities that play into everything. So somebody that wanted to come along and take care of business does it correctly. You let them in, they go look. They don't find the atomic weapon you're supposed to have in your basement, and they go home. And they apologize generally if there's nothing found. I'm sorry we bothered you, but, apparently according to this, it was supposed to be, that way. And, let us know if there's anything we can do to help take care of any other issues that might be involved in this. And you go from there. Now, I personally don't feel that there's a problem with law enforcement, except that they get way too enthusiastic. They get a lot of that gung-ho, whoopity-doo cowboy routine running through their veins at the wrong time. Get all excited. Ooh, this guy's supposed to be armed. Ooh, and they get all, trigger-happy kind of deal, which is unnecessary. Anybody who knows anything about contests knows that as an example, boxing is a science. If you can make the other person get mad, they're going to go nuts in terms of not using forethought and planning in what they're doing. And when that happens, you got them. This also happens with a lot of problems in terms of wrong addresses. And I hear all these rumors, you can't do anything about it. Well, yes, you can. There are a lot of avenues of getting even for a busted front door and the other things that may have gone on. Anyway, due to the fact that I've been going along with this for a while, and I've checked several people who concur primarily with what I'm going to get to, is this. I've talked to Rick Light about this, and we agree. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time. And I'm going to say this so that you get it. Listen up. Rick, would you come on and announce what you got to announce in terms of action?
Yes, sir. I will be more than happy. Folks, look, breaking the law is breaking the law. And as we are seeing, these people break the law. The ones that reside in Congress and in your Senate, and I'm not just speaking in America, I'm speaking in other parts of the world. There's this thing called sovereignty, and it seems to be negated at every turn, not only here, but in other countries. Now, this gun treaty bill is a treasonous act, along with this trans-corridor thing as well. It's not allowed in the United States. And something tells me it's not really allowed in other countries either. So look, folks, there comes a time where we have to be sensible about what's legal and what's not. And when we see those that are supposed to protect the law in order to protect us all, well, it's time that we learn to reach out. And how do we reach out? Well, this is how I propose we do it. I propose that we get with our FBI, we get with our military, we get with our militias, and our LEOs, all of them. Folks, there's patriots that reside in every one of these entities I just mentioned. They're seeing the same things we see. And, well, there's going to come a time. Now, my date's the 27th. And I don't care if that gun bill treaty passes or not. Any politician, any representative, any senator that votes yes on that bill or supports any more of the New World Order or one world government crap and tries to shove it not only down the United States' throat, but any other country that may be listening to this program today, I say it's time we start arresting these people. We get a coordinated effort through these entities to place them under arrest. Now, I don't want people to get me wrong. I'm not talking about charging in with the guns and being violent. I just told you what we expect. A coordinated effort. That means to communicate with the FBI, your LEOs, your military, your militias out there. Folks, it's time we pull it together. You know, my son posted a really unique picture on Facebook today. It was a quote from Ben Franklin, where a lady had stepped up and asked Ben Franklin, "What kind of government are you giving us?" Mr. Franklin's reply was, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." Well, folks, I'm not going to let my republic just slide to the side. Matter of fact, I would like to see more free republics step up to the plate. More countries out there. United States ain't the only one that's blessed with these rights that are being trampled on. I remind people that the founders of this nation enumerated Americans' rights, recognizing them as all people's rights. In other words, everybody that lives, everybody that's born, everybody that resides on this planet is a free human being. And it's time we make these people realize that. The problem is, folks, is there's just no enforcement of any kind to stop them. And this is where we come in. So that's basically what I want to announce today is I am calling on the FBI. I am calling on the military. I'm calling on the militias. And I'm calling on every person in our law enforcement community that believes in this country and its freedom and its republic to stand. And that includes all of our listeners too, folks. All you people out there with ears that hear my voice right now and hear it well. It's time for this to end. And it's going to take us to get it done. I don't want this to be done violently. It doesn't have to be like that. Anybody that's familiar with me on Global Voice knows I'm not a violent man by nature. However, put me in a corner, try to come and get my guns, force a corporation rule down my throat, try to tell me what I'm going to do with my properties and what I'm not, try to tell me you can come into my home anytime you want, try to take away my liberties and my freedoms that so many people fought and died for. It's not going down, folks. It's not going down. Now, a lot of us want to get on the computer and type. That's fine. That's great. We communicate that way. But, folks, it has to go a step further. I noticed a lot of our people out there listening today, they're expecting somebody to come and save them. That's not going to happen. It's like Drake said, go look in the mirror. There's your white knight right there. Are you willing to do what it takes to retain your freedom? I am. It's come that time, folks. It's come that time. It's time to stand. If you're not involved with a militia, get involved with one. Please, for the sake of this nation, listen to what I'm saying to you today. Listen to what Drake's been telling you all along, what LadyDragon tries to tell people in Canada and across the world. Folks, if we're going to be free, it's on our shoulders. Now, I'm sure that if we show the responsibility that we need to show as free people, we're going to be shocked at who will stand with us. Now, I've met people in the FBI. Not all of them are bad people, folks. It's like anything else out there. You're going to find good and bad in anything. So reach across the table to the FBI. Be courteous and say, you know what? I'm tired of these people stomping my rights. I want it violent. I don't want people putting me into a corner. And that was the FBI's job. That was originally founded for, folks, was to protect you from politicians that would take your rights. Anybody don't believe that, you go look up into the history of the FBI and why they were created to begin with. They wasn't to be the henchmen of the government like they've become. They were meant to guard your liberties and your freedoms from bad politicians that would take them from you. Unfortunately, it's like anything else in time, it gets polluted. But part of the pollution, folks, is us. It's the people. And I don't mean to slap anybody in the face. I'm just as guilty of being what you call complacent at one time as anybody else out there. So know this. When I say that, I blame myself as well. I share that blame. So I don't want anybody to think I've just called you bad names or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. We've got to recognize our faults, folks. We got to recognize this fake fear is what it is. It's fake fear. But that fear is going to become reality if we don't learn to stand real soon and unite. All of us. You know, I see a lot of bickering going on in the militia of who's this and who's that. Well, I don't like this person because they believe in that, or what have you. And it's heartbreaking to me, folks. It really is, because, you know, freedom is much more grand than that. It's so huge. It's like Drake said, and we've said before, it's being able to believe what you want to believe. Worship God the way you want to worship God. If you even want to worship a God, that's up to you. You know, I might not like some people's choices in life, but as long as they're not stepping on me, well, I think I'm obligated to defend that choice, whether I like it or not. That's how much I believe in freedom. You know what taught me that? What taught me that was the animal kingdom out there, folks. Look at all the different animals they have. All of them have their different ways that they live, but they seem to coexist. And if you go to grab them, they show you real fast how they're going to defend that freedom from the tiniest little thing out there. I mean, from the tiniest little thing to the biggest thing that roams the earth. If you don't see what I'm saying here, go try it someday. Go out there and just grab a mouse. Watch how fast he bites you on your finger, so you'll let him go and he can remain free. That's what I'm hoping to see come out of this here real soon, folks, is complacency to go away. Put the fear away. Don't rely on just anybody to come in and save you and your freedom. Rely on yourself. Don't be afraid. A lot of us, we've stood the grounds for 21 years. They ain't ate us yet. So, but if, you know, people keep being complacent, sitting around, not willing to unite, not willing to get together, reach across the board to some of these people in the FBI, to the LEOs, to your military people. They see the same thing you see. Trust me, folks. I've had plenty of conversations with a lot of these folks. They see it. They don't know what to do. They feel like, wow, nobody's willing to do anything about it anymore. What do we do? Let's show them what to do. Let's unite. Let's get together. Let's get these jokers. Let's place them under arrest. Let's do it in an organized, civil, decent way, too. Remember, they want to come in and just round us up. Well, we can't do that, folks, and let me tell you why. There's that thing called due process. And, you know, every person deserves that, no matter how bad they are. That's the way our founders in the United States seen it. You know, that's the way I see it, too. So I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I'm not calling for violence today. What I am calling for is people to stand. And I don't care where you're at in this world. Now, I love America because I'm an American. But, you know, I know there's other people in this world that love their country as much as I love mine. And, folks, it's going to be up to us, each and every one of us, to rise to the occasion to get this thing done. And if we don't do it real soon, we're going to run out of time. As we see, our enemies are working fast to counter everything we've done. I think we all remember us going into the chess game theory. This ain't a game, folks, but it's played the same process as chess. We make a move, they see the move, they make a move to counter. We better get real smart, and we better pull up all of our pawns, and we need to make the right moves. We need to do it soon. And I think that is a good move, is for us to reach across the board, each and every one of us that's a patriot, whether we're patriot to freedom, to a nation, whatever you're a patriot to, as long as you believe in that concept of freedom, it's time we place these jokers under arrest. Drake, I'm going to give that back to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Minuteman. I'm sorry, Drake.
That's all right. The reason we agreed to this is because I checked through my channels with my people, other people's people. I got this back from about 5, 6 different places. And the reason we don't have military action right now is because of the Rat Patrol. They're working on it, but you can't tell who is who or what's what. And they kind of shy away from that a little bit. Now, I have been told to go along with that all of those who are of a freedom nature, a constitutional person, a person who's a patriot and has loyalty to this country, will stand with us. This is the reason for this addressment, and this is the reason for this announcement, is that in order to weed out the wheat from the chaff, you're going to have to shake the bushes hard. And I know that there are a lot of people out there going, yeah, but I'll get in trouble. Yeah, well, if there's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 of you, maybe 1 million or more, who have decided that getting stomped on by law enforcement that shouldn't be law enforcement, and there are a few of those out there, that you're tired of the government running your life, telling you what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, what you can eat and all this stuff. If you are looking honestly within your heart toward being free, and I'm sure a lot of people remember when they was kids, you'd go out, run, play, scream, holler. 9 times out of 10 there wasn't a problem. Lately that's changed a bit, but most of the time, you know, it's kids riding bikes, they're having fun, they ain't hurting nothing, let them go. At least they're not being noisy right there in your living room. The noise that I'm going to ask to be made needs to involve everybody. And by everybody, I mean Occupy, I mean Tea Party, I mean anybody who believes in any way, shape, or form in freedom. You can add unions. You can add office workers that never did anything like this in their life. Most people, as I've been finding, are willing to stand with the idea of freedom in terms of philosophy or belief, but they're a little short on the action end of it. This time I'm saying to everybody out there, we have no time left. In order to make sure that we do not allow these people to continue doing what they're doing, it's time to take the action. Now, a citizen can formulate a detention. According to law, basically, you're allowed to detain a person. Now, if people decide to go in the middle of the night and visit certain people and take people out, you take them down and turn them over to law enforcement. You do so with them in good condition. In other words, no, they didn't fall down the stairs 12 times, etc. You do not take the law into your own hands, but prove to the world, to whomever your maker that it is that you believe in, that you are a better person than those whom you are taking control of, that you offer at the very least what they should have offered us. It's called due process, as Rick mentioned. It's called legality, lawfulness. It's called the morality of believing not just that there is a constitution and you got rights, but that it also stipulates certain things where you treat people a certain way so that you can be treated that way. This is the idea, okay? Whatever force is necessary to take these people in the middle of the night is up to you. I would suggest that you don't go with the armed conflict against security forces that might be at a mansion somewhere, unless there's no other way. I would try the sheriff and local FBI and other law enforcement personnel first. At that point, then you can accomplish the same job and not have to hurt anybody. And believe me, this needs to be as nonviolent as possible. But if there is no cooperation, then by whatever means necessary, and by necessary I mean absolutely required of the situation, period, you should exercise those efforts. You should do so, however, under the law, under control, and not out of anger. Oh, this guy made me get tickets, and he did that. I'm going to shoot him in the whatever. No, it don't go that way. Not at all. The way it goes is that comes under police harassment. If it's ordered by somebody, that's corruption. You can actually put a whole bunch of people in jail over that. If, and this is the fun part, the law is enforced. Okay, this comes to courts. The secondary part of this is a return to the correct form of adjudication. And the correct form of adjudication is no personal interest of any kind. The only leniency allowed goes according to what was done. And the letter of the law might stipulate, you got an absolute sentence. Well, not necessarily. It can be more or less according to the position of the judge, irrespective as to requirements. Now, you got to remember this. Requirements, that comes under regulation in terms of law. Those are suggestions, like it or not, and I imagine there'll be a lot of lawyers and judges get a little bit bent out of shape about that, but that's the way it is. That's administrative law. That is a form of procedural guidance where you have a minimal sentence, meaning that it's a regulation and not the law. Law stipulates 20 years, and the guy really didn't do that much wrong, except that he is guilty of the crime according to the law. Well, he can be made guilty, and you can turn him loose. Specifically, now I want you to think about this. Families, kids, a lot of people got those. A lot of people got a significant other. Well, now, would you like to see us chop this one up in little pieces while you watch? Or do you want to do what we tell you? That's called coercion. It isn't one of its worst forms. It's prevalent, and I mean prevalent a lot more than you think. There's other forms of coercion called blackmail. They did something wrong, got it on videotape, they got evidence, and, unless you want us to publish this and ruin your whole existence, it might be a good idea if you go along with our program. That's another form of coercion. That person may be guilty of something. We can adjudicate them for that. Now, this is a real listen up, calling out. This is not a game. We ain't playing. When I get done with this show, I'm going to call my local sheriff and explain to him what the situation is so that he understands what's going on. I'm also going to try to express to that man that he needs to, if he has contacts in the FBI and other law enforcement agencies, which I'm sure he does by now, to get in touch with them so that we can start rounding people up so that we've got a sufficient force necessary to take care of the business of snatching them up and putting them behind the bars they wanted us to be behind. And this is the reason for this. This is part of the reason for this call. As I said, I dug deep. I went to everybody I know who has any kind of input and who has any kind of knowledge of what is happening, to include people that don't seem like they're on the inside but are, to include people who are on the inside on a, I don't know what you'd call it, partial basis. In other words, they deal with the insiders. Then you got people who are actually inside. And even though there's a clam up, and I mean it is dead silent out there, I did get word back. And the reason I got the word back was because of the importance of the situation we are in. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now or never. It's put up or shut up. It's table stakes. And we are dealing the cards this time, not them. So my call to everyone is to get in touch with as many people as you can. If you know militias, get in touch with them. If they haven't listened to this, put them onto the show. Make them sit down and listen to you. Yeah, you might have to buy a six-pack or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Get them to pay attention to the show so that they actually hear what is being stated. The reason for the lack of action is because of the rat patrols that were initiated by Obama. And that means that they get money and rank as a reward for outing people. And it could be that the guy just don't like the other guy and he wants to get rid of him. Well, he's going to take a little trip at the very least, if there's any kind of truth to the rumor at all. Well, I heard him talking too. Well, off you go. What I'm trying to say is it's time. And I want to emphasize something I say every once in a while that I borrowed from a guy who's a comedian, who I also like. He's a pretty neat person. And that's get her done. Everybody's heard that. This time, we got a lot to get done. We got a short time to do it in. We need to do this correctly. So anyone out there, if you're a lawyer, if you are a corporate person, if you work for a corporation, if you are simply a laborer or a carpenter or a plumber, it don't matter. You got people you know. And if you present the fact that they're coming after guns, anything over .38 caliber, all semi-automatics, you think about that. How many people have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on a hunting rifle or equipment that goes with it? It gets pretty dicey at that point. And then they're going to ask you first, then they're going to come take it, according to what this says, according to what they have elucidated to in terms of the memos and things that I have had access to. So we're looking at the last gasp, last effort of the New World Order, as they would call it. I'd say it's the Old World Order, and I'd say we got the New World Order in front of us. It's being presented on a plate because of their actions, because a lot of this is treasonous. And treason is no small crime. You've also got breach of the oath of office, and depending on what they were doing at the time that they breached their oath of office depends on whether or not it is a misdemeanor or a felony. So it gets into a little bit of a sticky wicket. It gets into some of the fine print and the law and that sort of thing. But think about this. Think about not being able to protect yourself and your family. Think about not having any say whether somebody comes in to put an oil well in your backyard. That's what that Trans-Pacific Partnership's doing. They want to take each and every last right you got away, period. And make sure that if you don't comply, not only can they put the oil well in, but they can fine you $1 million, wherever they decide, arbitrarily. There's no guidelines. And the people that put it together are the ones who make the decisions. I mean, it don't get no better than the fox watching the hen house, similar to what we got in banking. And your First Amendment rights have already been stepped on hard. Those church websites going down were just about as blatant out in public and in your face as it gets. So, and then they want to come after the Second Amendment rights to protect the First Amendment rights and yourself by taking your guns away. They do not want you to be able to resist. This is the object. They want you as slaves. The overall plan, and this is a little picture, I want you to consider, you've seen some of this in some of the movies, where they got these fire escapes going up the side of metal buildings. Well, if you look close, you saw what those metal buildings are made out of. If you didn't, I'll tell you. Think about being put into a stack of shipping containers in a large city or general population area that they decide on, being subject to whatever they decide to give you, a little square cookie thingy and a little cup of water maybe, per day. This is like bread and water. I want you to think about that. And then working you 18 hours a day if possible. This is what they got in mind. Those who go along aren't all going to get to go and be safe. They're going to eliminate a bunch of them too. So these people that are worried about, I'm in, I don't have no problems. Really? You're liable to and not even know it. They're liable to have already decided that you don't go. In which case they're not going to tell you. They're going to simply let you go and think that you're going to be okay. And at the last minute you turn around and there's a guy with a gun and goodbye, you're done. They might grind you up. There was a movie made once called Soylent Green, where they scooped people up and ground them up and made green stuff out of them for food. Nasty stuff. Sounds like science fiction. Well, it could be considered that, except that it's been recorded in history on several occasions where people did eat people. There were some people caught in a pass in the wintertime out west, and they're famous. It's called the Donner Party. They eat some people, and these were religious folks. These were people that couldn't bring themselves to go contrary to what you're supposed to be doing. And yet, when you get to a certain point, you do what it takes. We are at that point now where we need to do what it takes. And everybody needs to be well aware of that. Denise, are you on here?
Yes, I am, Drake.
Would
you like to take a 5-minute break? Of course, the chat room and everything's going bonkers, and people have 1,000,001 questions.
Yeah. Have you got that? Hey, look what's going down.
Hey, look what's going. Oh, yes, I do. Would you like me to play that?
I would love it if you'd play that. You can add another song to it if you want. We can take a little bit of an extended break and recoup. I got a sweat going on right now.
Doesn't the world?
Yeah.
Okay, Drake. We will do that. We're going to take a couple minutes break, and everyone get beverages, refreshments, and be pondering your questions. And we will come back and try to get as many questions answered as we possibly can. And with that, we're taking a break.
See you in a bit.
Welcome back. We are still with Drake and Lady Dragon, and Minuteman is still with us. And I know you have lots of questions. Please be patient. I'm sorry for the long wait. Drake, I'm going to start with a few questions, if you don't mind, from the chat room.
I was hoping we'd go to questions.
Okay, unless you had something else. Did Minuteman or anybody, Lady Dragon, did you have anything else you wanted to add in before we start with some questions?
Yes, I would like to, Denise.
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Okay, I want people to have, everybody have their camera, their cell phone, their recording device, so they can record everything. People that love to do Ustream, live streaming, have this ready. When Rick and Drake gives the word, I will coordinate everything so everybody can see what's going on everywhere in each city,
Absolutely, kind of like the Occupy movement, where everyone was broadcasting live with their Ustream.
When it was NATO, when it was the burger event, So NASCAR would be the event to everybody. I want you to charge your batteries, have everything ready. So when everybody moves, you're moving to film everything, and we are going to live stream and put everything up as soon as you get your thing. You email me, dragon@ladydragon.com, and we're going to coordinate this here,
Oh, wonderful, Lady Dragon. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
If everyone didn't catch that, any documentation you have, any videos or anything else that you capture, we can send it to Lady Dragon at dragon@ladydragon.com via email, and we will gather it all together in one place for everyone to refer to. Okay. Okay, let's see. This question is for Drake. It says, Drake mentioned in the past that we were going to slowly be introduced to the full potential of the fifth dimension. At what point in this process will we be reintroduced, to loved ones that have passed?
Okay. All of that deals with dimensionality and spirituality. And the very simple answer is this. The reintroduction, the exposure of advanced technologies and other things that have been told to us is to happen between a period of time from September 2011 to May 2013. So the time is growing shorter to find these things out. It's growing shorter for these things to start happening. The first thing you'll notice is a greater awareness and a greater mental functionality. That is your first sign that things are beginning to happen. Be aware of those and be ready for the fun that comes after. Next.
Okay. There seems to be concern amongst people with regard to the Canadian Executive Order number 14. This may be a question for you, Lady Dragon. It mentions that there will be a 30% population reduction. Could you please explain what that means exactly? There are quite a few people that have been spoken with that are very worried about it. Executive Order.
Like I explained many times, this is an essay that a guy did in 2008. These are not factual. The 30% reduction he's talking about is going to be a reduction in work. You know, if we don't have all cars, we're going to have other type of work of doing. You know, that's what it's referring to.
Okay, so it's a 30% like work reduction, not population reduction.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what he meant by that.
Thank you, Lady Dragon. Thank you. Okay, there seem to be several questions here regarding that Dick Act of 1902. One of them suggests that if we do our research, we could verify that the act was truly passed into law. And another comment is it was passed to make sure that our gun rights could not be trampled on. There's also rumor that it was killed on the House floor. Do we know anything about this?
Yes, I do. The Dick Act was passed, and if you dig deep enough into the Library of Congress, you see that it is still present law. It has never been repealed. However, our government likes to bury those kind of things, and knowing that people's memory in America can be rather short, and they waited for enough time to where they could just completely circumvent that law. Now, remind all Americans that there has never been a law repealing the Second Amendment until now. It is not something that came from the American people. It comes from foreign entities, which, if you look at, well, all the people that sit at the heads of the UN, none of them, not one, were from a free republic, any of that stuff. Every one of them folks has been socialist. And that's what you basically got right now trying to, and it's not really socialism, folks. Look, this thing's a hybrid between all kinds of different governing factions. It includes Marxism, communism, socialism. It's just a bastard. It's a bastard. And we can't allow it here in the United States, and I'm hoping other countries will stand up and say, you know what, we ain't going to allow it here. It's just time to stomp this out once and for all. Folks, there's going to be a World War III. Don't let them start it. Well, if they want to take and push buttons like that, we'll finish it. And it's like Drake said, we've got a little different version of the New World Order that, well, we can all get together and we can enforce. And that's what I suggest that happens at this time. Look, folks, if you just knock the UN out of one country, know this, they'll regain their power and they'll come back at you again. They'll do this. That's why this needs to be a worldwide effort to stomp this evil out. Now, I mean, it needs to be a worldwide effort so people in other countries know this. Some of us Americans, we recognize your sovereignty. We recognize your right to be free. And I would suggest you do everything in your power to make sure that prevails in your country. At the end of this thing, we're going to find a whole lot brighter world with a lot less fighting going on. And that would just tickle me to death to leave that kind of legacy behind for not only my children, but my grandchildren, too. Folks, look at your kids. A lot of listeners out there that have children, I want you to look at them. Look in their eyes. Some people say, like Drake said, you know, I might get in trouble doing this. Well, think of the trouble they'll be in if you don't.
Absolutely.
Look at those children, and you remember what I just said to you. What happens if you don't? What would have happened here in America in 1776 if some people didn't say, you know, enough's enough? The British tried to come and get our guns, and we met them at Lexington. Well, the 27th, folks, here in America and other countries, this gun treaty isn't just going to affect America, make no mistake. It's going to affect every country in the world. And I personally, believe me, folks, I would love to just leave my guns hang on the wall and target practice with them, maybe hunt with them when I feel it's necessary, things like that. The last thing in the world I'd ever want is to hurt another human being. But unfortunately, there is an evil in the world that will not let you have it like that. Great Britain, you've lost your guns. I know you're trying to get them back. Australia, you lost your guns. I know you're trying to get them back. Get them back, folks, and put freedom in place. That's what I'm asking everybody that listens on this show tonight. It's not just an American thing here, folks. Freedom belongs to every man, woman, and child that walks on this earth. We owe it to them to make sure it prevails.
Okay, I got a couple more questions for you, Rick, while we got you going here. Okay, let's see. Can Minuteman give us the number or strength of our current militia?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
I'll make that short. I am not privy to every militia that builds. A lot of people think that I am, but I want to make that clear. I'm not. Several, or more than several, are underground. That's a good thing to a certain extent. Those that are above ground, right, more or less help bring in numbers and try to educate Americans on what the Second Amendment really means. And here again, I know there's some people that might not agree with what we're saying about the Second Amendment, but I encourage them to put away their feelings for 1 minute and really check the document out, the right out, and go back and dig into the history of the reason why the Second Amendment was brought about. Here again, in my site on RAM, and I'm going to see if we can't get Drake to put this on his site too. It's a powerful video, and it was done by the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms. And it explains America's Second Amendment right to the T. Now, folks, there is no arguing them 6 facts in that video. They are on record and documented. The only thing you've got to do is take your time and go look it up. And it doesn't take much of your time. It'll take you, I think, 40-some minutes to view the video, do what some people have done. They took notes on those 6 facts, and then they got into their computer. And even some of the most, what you would call, staunch people that didn't really know about that and had doubts about it came back and said, wow, you were dead right. That Second Amendment belongs to the people, folks. Don't belong to the military. It don't belong to the government. They do not have the right to step on it. That was so you can retain your freedom through a well-regulated militia. A well-regulated militia has to be armed. That's just the way it is, whether it's in peace or war. You know, militia has many functions. It's not only during war. They're a viable unit for their community in peace as well. We do have that after the curve.
Okay, Rick,
Rick
one more.
Hold on a second. Rick,
Go
I got
ahead.
something to add to that.
Sure.
Okay, last estimation I got is a minimum of 250,000. And then I got the revised figure from a person who handles militia communications. And that person does it for a lot of different ones. So I said, well, what is the more realistic number? And he said 3 million. So I would suggest...
I can believe that. I think that's being humble as well, Drake.
It could be, but what I'm saying is, even at that, and that's a conservative number from him, he told me that, but 3 million concentrated in small groups in the right places, and the politicians got a problem. The people that have been running things.
And if that effort is combined with LEOs and FBI, they've even got a greater problem.
Exactly, and that's basically why we are trying to go at this in the way that we are, so that the law enforcement and everybody else can hear what's happening.
That's right, and they can play their part in it. And look, folks, we're doing this lawfully. This is a lawful move. Nobody's going to get in trouble for being lawful. They haven't took things that far yet. And we have that right to call for their arrest. We have that right.
We've never used it,
I'm
but we
hoping
have.
that announcement that I made earlier, Drake, will go viral. Folks, you send that message everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, another multi-part kind of question that I think, several comments kind of questions that will probably be answered with one answer. Okay, first of all, Rick, how the hell do we reach across the board and place them under arrest when some of our local sheriffs are bought and paid for?
Well, that's going to be an interesting question. Does the sheriff want to be arrested too?
And they can be, obviously, right?
Yes, they can be arrested. Look, folks, if they're not going to serve their purpose in your community, that kind of brings them out on a violation of their oath. Here again, giving the people the power to place them under arrest and to make sure that the proper procedures are done to ensure them a fair trial for, well, what they've done wrong. Folks, look, if we break the law, we go to jail. These folks are no different than us. They're no different than us. If we break the law, we go to jail, and that's righteous. That's a righteous thing. But they haven't got the right to sit there and break the law. The law of the land in America, it resides in the Constitution. They don't have that right. Now, they took that right upon themselves. They took it upon themselves. So you tell me what the difference is of whether you walk into a bank at gunpoint and you steal a bunch of money or whether you use a pen to steal people's rights. I'd rather deal with the bank robber, folks. To tell the truth, it's more deceptive to do it with a pen. At least the bank robber's being honest enough to point a gun in your face and let you know he's robbing you or she's robbing you. These folks are about as sneaky and conniving as it gets. They slip it under the table through it with a pen and then smile and say, well, what you going to do about it? Well, I say that we get tired of saying, well, there ain't nothing we can do about it, because there is. We can call for their arrest. That's what we can do. And we can come up with enough numbers in the patriot community alone in America. Look, folks, I can't think of one person out there. You just heard a song from Charlie Daniels. Get a hold of Charlie Daniels and see what he thinks about what was said today on this show. I'll bet you he'll say I concur completely. And the man's right. The man is right. It's time we do something about this mess.
Now, Rick, I got something to add, and this goes to the military that's listening. I got in my possession a military arrest warrant for a civilian. A lot of people don't know the legalities involved, and one of the consummate legal experts on the planet worked it up for me and sent it to me, and I printed it out. So if they would like to exercise something along that line, and it can be a small group, that's fine, I will happily supply them with the paperwork required in order to culminate in the arrest of one of these dinks.
Okay, that would bring on this other bunch of questions, Drake. Let's see. Please pass the question on to Drake at Minuteman. If they want to know if the list of the 10,000 plus cabal would be divulged to use in concert with authorities to make these arrests.
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to say, I would figure that to be a yes, but I was going to let Drake step to the plate on that one.
Okay, yeah. And another question, of course, or comment was, we would think that we would need the release of some of the evidence so that we could start making the citizens' arrests.
The problem with that is very simple. Anybody that voted for the Homeland Security Act comes under treason and can be arrested for that, as well as violation of the oath of office, etc. And when you do things of that nature and go against the Constitution, it takes it out of the misdemeanor and puts it into the felony category. Mm-hmm. And depending on the level of the felony and treason, depends on whether or not you get into the area of what's called capital punishment, where a person's life's on the line for what they've done. And this is something these people have not considered because they consider themselves immune. They consider themselves separated far enough and superior enough and elite enough to be able to do anything they want. That's where all this is coming from.
Okay. So will this list go viral, they're asking, Drake, so that, everybody will be basically aware of who we're after, or, who needs to be arrested?
Well, out of the federal government, I can give you a list. I know of a list of 14 who are legal. The rest of them ain't legal. Now, you can include anybody that you'd like. The whole of the executive branch, most all of the banking system in terms of the central banking system, most all of the IRS, and I mean it just continues to go. Department of Justice has a bunch of deadbeats in it. You've got each and every one of the alphabet agencies that have had people that were party to things that are absolutely and positively unconstitutional. Usurpation of authority, obstruction of justice. I mean, treasonous actions, specifically against the people and the state. I mean, look at Eric Holder. I mean, he's got international arms trafficking charges as a terrorist. Our government's been doing this terrorist stuff of supplying arms in quantity to just about anybody who had the cash for years. I mean, this started back World War II. So, I mean, pick something. Now, there are several of these groups that I would say are pretty clean. One of those would be Delaforce, that I can think of off the top. There are a few in the NSA. There are a few in the Secret Service. who are dirty. There are a majority of them, I would say, are primarily clean. So, the large list that I mentioned, that's some 40 feet long, give or take, it may have been added to or whatever since I heard of it. That is a matter of situation. As a situation comes about, certain things will get released automatically. There's nothing anybody can do to stop it. And it's hidden in such a way that nobody will ever find it. So, all of a sudden you're liable to find your fax machine going nuts, similar to a person by the name of Deep Throat that popped out presidential papers at one point to a certain printing company. So, this is not, this ain't something that they can get around or get away from. It's going to hit them right where it counts.
Okay. Next question, Drake, is do you believe that the military is still in numbers supporting our freedom? And if so, has that percentage increased, decreased?
It's about the same. The problem is you got maybe somewhere between 5 and 20% who are shills or rat patrol or whatever you want to call it. And making sure that the critical points or critical areas that the good guys are operating within are maintained is what the big fuss and delay is that's going on presently. Now, if we can assist in terms of bringing about this action, which I believe we can, then it's time that everybody step up to the plate. It's time to contact your local FBI, your local law enforcement people, be that the sheriff or state police, whomever, and prefer charges. Anybody, any citizen can prefer charges against anybody. It's sort of like the same thing about lawsuits. Anybody can sue anybody for anything they feel like. Well, the same thing is true in terms of preparation of charges. And if there is public record of those violations, it makes it a lot easier. And most of this is congressional record or personal reports. A lot of records are found within offices, etc. So, take it from there.
Okay. Let's see. Good grief, there's so many questions. When will Drake make his first arrest?
The first time the sheriff tells me to go partner with him, we'll go make an arrest.
Okay. Let's see. Does Drake think maybe that we, the people, all should concentrate our efforts on one big arrest, say like Holder, to show the world that we mean business?
I would suggest that we pick Holder, George Soros, Nancy Pelosi, let's see here, Clinton, both of them, Bush. Just run down the any kind of a nasty list you can think, and yeah, it's a good idea. The more public, the better. It's going to take more than one person to arrest Eric Holder because he's basically being guarded. However, he's also been arrested and sang like a songbird, and that's where a lot of the information came from that people were looking for. It gave he not only gave up names, dates, and places, but a whole bunch of documentation as well. And people didn't know he had that documentation. I thought that was pretty slick. So yeah.
Okay. Let's see. They wanted me to ask you about the invitation that Kishi has given to world leaders.
Well, it would depend upon the world leaders as to whether or not they're going to bother. It would depend on whether they're looking at this Trans-Pacific Partnership as some kind of viable thing that will supposedly create jobs and make things better for their country and countrymen. It would depend on whether or not they have received bribes by somebody to vote a certain way or whatever. There's a lot that goes into this. Now, most of the bribes become pretty obvious when you got somebody making, say, $40,000 a year, and all of a sudden they're driving a $300,000 Lamborghini. That sort of tips your hat. If they're living in a mansion on $30,000 a year, it don't work that way. If suddenly they have an offshore bank account, maybe somebody needs to audit that bank account, or tell that particular person, show me what you got in there. And if they don't comply, then they are guilty of RICO statutes. They're guilty of, it's a laundry list, and it's applicable to most everybody. Okay? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay.
You're standing on the mute button.
My mute button stuck. Okay, let's see. Next question. These have to do with currency and exchange. Drake, we've heard rumors that the dinar revalued at the Frankfurt Exchange and the Paris Exchange. Any truth to this?
Well, that's a good question. Now, what kind of an exchange is it, and who are they affiliated with is the question. And whether or not that exchange has to do with the central banking system is the crux of the deal. If they are independents, then that's a bit different than being obligated to have the legal right to access the new valuation. I've heard rumors from 2 to 12 times, in some case 20 and 30, and I hear this rumor on a regular basis on Nacera. Ooh, it's coming. Ooh, it's getting to happen. Ooh-ee. Well, whoopity-doo. That's sort of like what we've been doing in terms of waiting for the military to be able to do something that they are now in a position where they're questionable to be able to do. Then to go along with it, you have to understand that the releasement of the collateral accounts does tie into the Eastern Alliance's financial plans that they're offering to allow for exchange rates. So in other words, if you got say 140, 150 countries that may or may not honor what you've got, then it can be limited. Okay, if it's limited to the G20, let's say, then you're dealing with central banking fun and games, and the central banking system's getting ready to go. It's primarily pretty much broke now anyway. I don't see any future for the euro, and I doubt that the Federal Reserve note is going to last all that much longer. So, it depends on those things. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Just a couple more questions from the chat room, and then we'll start taking callers. And I appreciate everybody's patience here. Can you give us a status on the Keenan suit and where it will come into play?
Well, the status is very simple. It was withdrawn so that there could not be certain actions by the judge in terms of the case itself. There is a lot of tactical maneuvering in terms of legal cases of all kinds. This one in and of itself is rather complex in terms of the manner in which it's delivered, presented, the manner in which the correct procedures are either followed or violated have a lot to do with all this. So it depends on a combination of things. Hopefully in the near future we'll see it reinitiated. At that point then, from what I understand, it's sort of a deal that can't be refused. So that ought to get real interesting. Okay?
Okay, here's one. Why is Drake talking about salaries and interest-bearing investment tools when the economy is supposed to be totally reset?
Well, that would be a part of the reset. This would be, in other words, the idea in finance is not to destroy the system, but to alter it, change it, overhaul it, make extraordinary changes, whatever it takes to make it both fully transparent and honest. And within that, the full and total destruction of what's already there, in other words, bulldozing the buildings, is not necessarily the best way to go in some cases. It's like a bank that's partially involved with the central banking system. Do you want to take them out, or do they serve enough people and can stand on their own, and retain some form of value in terms of what they're doing? If so, then I would leave that entity in place. It depends on one thing, whether or not they really needed funds from the central banking system, or if they were just, as such, it's called money laundering, where they run stuff into accounts, into the bank, and they go into certain accounts and people take it out. That is money laundering. You've got a specific purpose designated for or current or a loan. It's not allowed to be used otherwise, specifically in terms of payoffs and things on that level. So that's the answer to that.
Okay, I was trying to shut up the chihuahuas. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. They don't know to be quiet. Okay. Okay, here's a loaded question, and you may be able to elaborate on whether or not this is even necessary, but can you please ask Drake and Minuteman and LadyDragon what we can do as individuals to get our sovereignty?
Yeah, everybody needs to go and get with their neighbors and form a community group and boogie on down the road. They need to call their sheriff if they can't get a hold of nobody.
Okay.
I'll let everybody else put their 2 cents in on that one.
Drake, will this ever end? I really don't want to hear another few weeks.
That's why the call out is for today. I expect things to start happening this coming week. I expect the militias to form up with law enforcement and start taking care of business the way it should have been taken care of a few months ago, in my opinion. And I see this as a very positive step. It's not a negative one. The reason being is that you don't have a bunch of gunslingers running around shooting people. You got people that are armed, that are private citizens, that are backing up the law enforcement entity. And believe me, when the sheriff sees 25, 30 people, say at minimum, and they're all armed, and what you want us to do, that really makes his day. Now, he can either deputize the individuals, and that's up to the individual sheriff. He can deputize them and give them full arrest powers, or he can use them as an auxiliary reinforcement, and this is available to all county sheriffs and above, in order to make sure that there are sufficient hands to handle what's coming, whatever comes up. Okay?
Okay.
I'd like to add to that one, Drake, before we cut that loose.
Go for it.
Right. The caller said he didn't want to know about another 2 or 3 weeks, or the person in the chat. Look, that's why we have come up with calling for their arrest. We can't just lay everything on certain entities in America. Now, we as citizens have responsibilities to see things through. So if people don't want to see another 2 or 3 weeks, it's real simple. Don't just think that the military is going to come and save you. Don't think that the FBI or LEOs are going to get it done. Look, folks, they need to hear from you. It's time that we do our job on this. We need to support these people. We have patriots in these areas. They're staunch patriots. They're just as patriotic as us. But you tell me where it's fair that we sit back, drink our coffee and or beer and eat our cake and let them take the risk. It doesn't work like that. There's responsibility that resides in each one of us. And that's where we got to have the bravery to see it through. Contact your FBI, your sheriffs, chief of police. Find those people. Tell them, look, when we break the law, you come and you get us and you put us in jail, and that's righteous. We expect that out of you. But we can't no longer let these politicians blatantly break the law itself and then smile and say, what are you going to do about it?
Note this show was abruptly shut down and will continue Monday, July 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern if possible. Thank You White Knights is supported by ExclusiveWellnessClub.com, home of wellness products for the health conscious such as MMS1 and 2, Lugol's iodine, DMSO, colloidal silver and MSM at ExclusiveWellnessClub.com, shipping outside the United States available. Link below. This is Thank You White Knights and I hope you enjoyed this video. For updates and to go to the source of this article, please find the link below the YouTube screen while watching in YouTube. For the latest news and updates, please visit thankyouwhiteknights.com.